Bellator 258, Juan Archuleta versus Sergio Pettis is coming up this Friday, and I'm going to be going over and breaking down the full card, fight by fight, right here, right now. So without further ado, let's get right into the video, and the first fight is going to be Lorenz Larkin against Rafael Carvalho at 185 pounds. So Lorenz Larkin, let's start off with him, man, 22-7. Pretty good UFC career, you know, if you include the Strikeforce days. He was 9-5-1. And in Bellator, he's been pretty solid. He's 4-2. His losses came to Paul Daly and Douglas Lima, so pretty decent competition. He's 34 years old, 5'11", with a 72.5-inch reach. And he has not fought since 2019, so a little bit of a layoff. But yeah, you know, with Larkin, he's got pretty good takedown defense. He's got good hands, pretty good volume, good pressure. He was supposed to be fighting the 13-2 Costello Van Steenis in this event, but that fell through. So he will have had a longer camp than Rafael Carvalho here. And he is coming up from 170 to 185. So, you know, there's that. But coming into this fight, he definitely has the momentum. But he's coming up against a former 185 Bellator champ here in Rafael Carvalho, who's coming in with a record of 16-5. He was supposed to be headlining LFA 107, which is going to be a week later than this event is scheduled for, but obviously he got the call to return to Bellator, so he's been rescheduled here. And so, you know, he's going to have a shorter camp for this specific opponent, you know, for Lorenz Larkin, but you know, he's been training. He was supposed to be fighting a week later anyway, so he's definitely been training, but it's just like that camp wasn't tailored for this fight specifically. But I feel like he's definitely in shape, and he had a decent amount of time to kind of switch over to this. But you know, you still got to take that into account. You also have to take into account the fact that Carvalho is going to have a big height and reach advantage here. He's 6'3", and he has a 78-inch reach, which is huge. 7-4 in Bellator. He lost 4 of his last 5. But, you know, those 4 losses were Alex Polizzi, Vadim Nemkov, Machida, and Gegard Mousasi. So, I mean, like, those are pretty good guys. You know, you can't really hold that against them too much. But at the same time, you know, you got to look at momentum, too. Lost 4 of your last 5. You don't really love to see that. And 2 of those fights were at light heavyweight. He is now back down at middleweight. You know, he's got knockout power. You know, he's a former champ. He's the more natural 185er of the 2 guys. And you know, he can be taken down, and that has kind of been kind of kryptonite for him in the past. And you know, his momentum and trajectory at this point is not great, but he's definitely live. So this is a really tough one to call. I don't think I'm gonna have money on this fight because I just don't. I don't know. It's tough to get a read, and I could see this going either way. I'm gonna slightly lean with Larkin here, just because I like the momentum. You know, he's been in better form, but you definitely can't count out Carvalho. But yeah, from a betting standpoint, this is gonna be a pass for me. If I had to choose one way or the other, I would go with Lorenz Larkin. And you know, he'll probably, you know, I kind of see. You would think that this would end inside the distance, but like, I don't know. I'm getting like a kind of a slight lean that it might go decision, but you know what, to be honest guys, I really don't think I'm going to touch this one with any money. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. So moving on to the next one, we have Patchy Mix coming up against Alberto Morales at 135 pounds. So Patchy Mix 13-1. If you include his amateur results, this guy is 24-1. So Patchy Mix is really good. There's really not a whole lot else to say about that man. He's really good. His only loss was his last fight. That was to the current bantamweight champ of Bellator, Juan Archuleta, who is headlining this card. Really no shame in that. He looked really good for the first 2 rounds of that fight as well. You know, he's got good wins like Ricky Bandejas, Andre Ewell, Tony Gravely. He's got a crazy amount of submissions, very dangerous ground game, and he does have the longer camp coming into this. You know, Morales is coming in slightly on short notice. And jumping over to Morales, who's coming in at 10-6-1, I think he's slightly overmatched here. In my honest opinion, I think that he is slightly overmatched. In the UFC, he was like 1-4, 1-4-1, something like that. I think that Mix is probably gonna have the advantage pretty much everywhere. I'd say like the best result of Morales' whole career was probably a win over Andre Sukumtat, and you know, the short notice call, I just feel like this is Patchy Mix all day, to be honest with you guys. I really like Mix here. I feel quite confident that he's going to get the win. I feel like he's probably going to get it done by submission. And yeah, I think that Mix is just going to cruise to victory in this one, you know, probably get the sub, and that's going to be my pick. I feel quite good about Patchy Mix. Then moving on to the next one, we have Logan Storley coming in against Omar Hussein at 170 pounds. So Storley's coming in at 11-1 with excellent wrestling. You know, that's his background. He's a really good wrestler. Training out of Sanford MMA. You love to see that. He's 6-1 in Bellator. His one loss was to Amosov. So, you know, what are you going to do? What's Amosov? 25-0, 26-0, something like that? He's going to be fighting Douglas Lima for the strap at this weight class. So, you know, Amosov is no joke, and you really can't hold that win against Storley at all, in my opinion. I think wrestling is going to be a big key for him if he's going to win this fight, which, you know, I actually do believe he will. He's at a longer camp here. Hussein's coming in on a little bit shorter notice, but, you know, Hussein has a good record. It's just, you know, 8-2. He just has not faced that many high-level guys. I don't think he's going to be able to fend off the wrestling attack of Storley. You know, he's training at Team Alpha Male. That's a good camp. But, you know, the short notice call, the wrestling acumen of Storley, I think, is going to be a big deal here. So at the end of the day, guys, I'm going with Storley to get this one done. I think he's going to have a market advantage in the wrestling department. I think he's going to come prepared to wrestle, and I think that he's going to find success with that facet of his game. So I'm going with Logan Storley in this one. Moving on, we have Eric Perez and Blaine Shute at 135 pounds. So Eric Perez, 19-8. You guys probably know him from the UFC, where he had a pretty good run. He was, what, like 7-2 or something? Been fighting for a really long time. He's well-rounded. You know, he likes to get some takedowns. He's been 0-2 in Bellator, so not the greatest start at the new promotion, but this is definitely a step down in competition from his last fight in Josh Hill. You know, that's for sure. He's had a longer camp for this. Shute's making the short notice call. A lot of guys getting called in due to injuries or complications or whatever it may be on this card, and Shute is one of them. So he's making his Bellator debut. He's had kind of a rocky career up to this point. He's been 3-3 in his last 6. Probably not on the same level as Eric Perez in this one. He's coming up 10 pounds from flyweight, just, you know, shorter camp. And I just think that Perez is going to be the better fighter here. I think that a mix of stand-up and takedowns is going to get him the victory. And I think it'll probably be more like a dominant decision than a finish, but he definitely could get the finish, but I see Perez getting this done by unanimous decision, so that's going to be my pick on this one. Moving on to the next fight on the card. It is Henry Corrales and Johnny Campbell at 145 pounds. So Henry Corrales is coming in 18-5. We saw him not too long ago against Gertz, where he looked good. Training out of Fight Ready. That's a camp I really like, and I have a lot of faith in. 5 of his losses came to Patricio Pitbull, Emmanuel Sanchez, Strauss, Juan Archuleta, and Darian Caldwell. Really high-level Bellator guys. All of those guys, I think, are definitely a lot better than Johnny Campbell. You know, no disrespect to Campbell whatsoever, but, you know, those are high-level guys in Bellator, and I think that Corrales is a high-level guy in Bellator, too. So he comes forward a lot. He likes to throw volume. He's got power, and he's just a bit of a beast, guys. You know what I mean? He's not afraid to get in the pocket and just keep moving forward. He will take a shot to land a shot. I think that he's going to be better than Campbell in this matchup. He's had the longer camp. It's kind of a continuing theme in a bunch of these picks. You know, Campbell's coming in shorter notice. But, you know, Campbell 20-13, ton of fights, 33 pro fights, but against lower level competition than what Corrales has faced for sure. He's coming up to 145 for this bout. And to be honest, guys, I just don't think that he's quite on the level of Henry Corrales. I don't think he's going to be able to be on the front foot. I think he's going to get backed up. I think he's going to find himself up against the cage. And yeah, just, you know, shorter camp. I think that Corrales is going to walk him down, and I think there might be a little bit of a skill gap in this one, so I feel pretty comfortable with Henry Corrales in this one. I think that he gets it done. And moving on to the next fight, we have Weber Almeida coming up against Johnny Soto at featherweight. So Almeida's 4-0, 3-0 in Bellator. Fought pretty decent guys, you know, for his first couple pro fights. 3 first-round finishes. 1 was within 30 seconds of round 2, so that's like an extra 30 seconds after the first round. You know, he's got just these vicious counters, guys, and he's always aware, like, if you're throwing, you better knock him out, because he's coming back with some heat every time. Then moving over to Johnny Soto, 3-1. I really don't like this spot for him, guys, to be honest. He hasn't fought anyone with a winning record. All the opponents he's faced are combined 1-17. One guy he fought was 1-15. One was 0-2. The other 2 were in their pro debuts. So, yeah, this is going to be a big step up for Soto, I think. And I feel very confident that Almeida is going to come in here and give him the work. And I feel like he's probably going to knock him out. You know, Soto, there's always a chance. It's MMA, but I feel like Almeida probably is going to give him a shock with a big jump up in competition, and I think he's going to wax him. So I'm going with Weber Almeida in this one, guys, for sure. And moving on to the next one, we have Johnny Evelyn coming up against Daniel Madrid at middleweight. So Evelyn 7-0. He's got 4 straight first-round finishes on Shamrock FC, then came over to Bellator and has put up 3 straight decision wins. So he's training at American Top Team in Florida. Love to see that. Great wrestler, good wrestling attack. You know, he's 29 years old. He's definitely got the big youth advantage in this one. But then you go look over on the Madrid side, 18-6. He's got the experience advantage, but he is much older at 37 years old. He just had a close split decision win over Pat Casey, and I don't know if he'll be able to deal with the power and the wrestling attack of Evelyn in this one. So I think this should be a pretty close fight. If I'm making, you know, like a big prototypical Bellator parlay, I think I might just leave this one off just to be safe. But I do think that Evelyn is definitely the play here. I think he probably gets it done by decision, but it could be a close fight. I'm going to lean with the youth advantage here. His wrestling and his athleticism, I think, can win him the decision. But I think Madrid is live, but yeah, I'm going with Evelyn in this one. Moving on to the next one, we have Rafael Stotts coming up against Josh Hill at 135 pounds. I really like this fight. This should be a really fun fight. So Rafael Stotts is coming in at 15-1. Really good looking record. His only loss was to Merab Dvalishvili in 2017, and that loss has aged like fine wine because Merab is looking like a real problem in the bantamweight division of the UFC. So yeah, Rafael Stotts is a product of Rufus Sport MMA. He's looking really good lately. That tenacious wrestling and grappling attack is just really difficult to deal with a lot of guys. And you know, that reach, he's got like a 72.5-inch reach, I want to say, something like that. It's big for bantamweight. You know, that's a big reach, and he uses that to advantage a lot. He finds a way to end up in good positions constantly. I think this will be one of his tougher matchups here, Josh Hill. I think he's a really good fighter, but Stotts is going to have a big-time reach advantage in this. You know, like a big-time reach advantage. He normally has the reach advantage at 135 pounds because he just has long arms for that weight. But this matchup in particular, he's going to have a big-time reach advantage. You know, 32 years old for Rafael Stotts, and looking across the octagon, or maybe not the octagon, in Bellator, looking across the circle at Josh Hill, 20-3. He's got a great record. His only losses are 2 losses to Marlon Moraes and a loss to Taylor Lapilus, which came on TKO. And you know, Taylor Lapilus is a good fighter. He's French, but he's a staple of Canadian MMA. As you know, Josh Hill is a you know, a classic Canadian MMA guy, so that's not really a bad loss. As far as TKO losses go, if they were to the Lapilus brothers, you know, we can kind of be like, all right, you know, good competition. Taylor Lapilus went on to have a decent career in the UFC. So, and you know, Marlon Moraes, we don't really have to talk too much about him. We know what he brings to the table. So Hill is 34 years old. He's on a 4-fight win streak, great momentum. He's 2-0 on Bellator after a win over Eric Perez, who was on the undercard of this Bellator 258 card. And yeah, man, Hill is good. Perez was able to find little moments of success with the grappling in that bout, though, against Hill, and I feel like Stotts is going to do that, but a little more. I feel like Stotts is going to be able to find success here. I don't think Hill's successes on the ground that he had against Perez are going to be as easily attained against Rafael Stotts. I think that the big reach advantage for Stotts is going to come into play. But ultimately, I think that Stotts get this one done. I think that he could get a sub or something, but I feel like this is probably going the distance. But this is definitely going to be one of the tougher matchups for Stotts. But I do still think he's just a better fighter, and he's going to find success here. I don't think Hill's going to be able to defend that tenacious grappling for 3 straight rounds. I think he's maybe slightly less polished in the stand-up. You know, close fight, but you got to go with Rafael Stotts here. So that's going to be my pick. And moving on to the next fight, we have MVP Michael Venom Page coming up against Derek the Barbaric Anderson at 170 pounds. So Michael Page coming in 18-1. His only loss was to Douglas Lima. Not really much shame in that. We were supposed to see this fight back in like 2019 or something, Anderson versus Page. It fell through, but you know, Page is going to have the size advantage in this one. He's like 6'3" with like a 77-inch reach. Big guy. He's on a 4-fight win streak with 3 KOs. And, you know, he's just a really excellent boxer. You know, that's definitely where his strength lies. Then looking at Anderson at 17-3, he looked pretty decent in his last fight, but Achilles Moto was definitely giving him a go. The fight ended on Anderson landing a kick that, like, kind of looked like it was a downed opponent for a second, but just at the second where the kick landed, Mota, like, lifted up one of his hands, so he technically was not a downed opponent. So Anderson ended up getting the win there. It wasn't the most convincing victory that I'd like to see before I'm going to come out and say that he's going to beat Michael Page. So I'm not going to come out and say he's going to beat Michael Page. I'm going to come out and say Michael Page is going to beat him. There could be a finish. I feel like both these guys are tough guys, and it's probably going to go the distance, though. But yeah, you know, Michael Page is going to be my pick here. I think he's going to get the win. He has been slowing down a little bit lately, but I still think he just possesses the advantage on the feet. He possesses the advantage in strength, I think. You know, you can't completely count out Anderson, but I am going to be going with Michael Page in this one. So moving right along, we have Pitbull coming up against Peter Quilley. So Pitbull coming in right after his brother Patricio put on a really great performance against Emmanuel Sanchez with a first-round finish. So, you know, Pitbull's coming in with a lot of power. He's coming in with a lot of volume. He will take one to land one. He wants to stand and bang with you. The Pitbull brothers train, you know, and prepare the right way. A lot of people have a lot of praise for the way they train. You know, Henry Cejudo has gone down there and trained with those guys before. And you know, pretty much everyone who goes down and trains with those guys comes back and says, like, you know, these guys are really going about it the right way. Really high IQ training going on there. And, you know, I really believe in the camp they have going on down there in Brazil. So, Patricio also just fought Pedro Carvalho, who is fighting out of the same camp as Quilley, Straight Blast Gym in Ireland. And, you know, the Pitbull brothers just train and prepare the right way. Pitbull, as much as you want to talk about him on the feet, does have extensive jiu-jitsu skills if needed. He was over in Risen for a while. And overall, he's just faced a lot better competition than Quilley has over the course of his career. He's got the experience advantage by far. And Peter Quilley is 12-5-1. His record is not as impressive as Patricky, but he is, I feel like, a little bit better than his record indicates. He's training out of SPG Ireland. He's got power. He likes to strike. He's got decent experience in other promotions. You know, Fight Nights Global. That's a pretty good regional scene promotion in my eyes. I like that one over in Russia. And you know, he KO'd Ryan Scope, who took Patricky to a split decision. But, you know, in the start of the second round with Ryan Stroke, Peter Quilley got absolutely rocked by a kick to start that round two. And he almost got finished. It looked like that fight was going to be over. You know, they went to the ground. He's getting ground and pound. He got his back taken. He was dominated most of that round. But late in round two, man, he came back. The resilience, you know, you can't ignore the resilience that this guy has. Comes back at the start of round two, at the end of round two, and was able to find a finish, man. Scope was completely and utterly gassed. And I feel like if he wasn't so gassed out trying to find that finish at the start of the round, that it would not have ended there. Quilley was really in a bad way to start round two there. I feel like he's less technical than Patricky is, but he could catch him. He's a few years younger. He comes in aggressive, which sometimes leaves him exposed. He does want to push the pace, and if he wants to do that, Patricky will be more than happy to oblige. He doesn't throw too many kicks. He's got a pretty boxing-heavy attack, kind of like a boxing-type stance. And I just think that Patricky is more technically skilled than him. And I think that if Quilley wants to throw bombs, he's going to receive them right back at the hands of who I believe is a better fighter in Patricky Pitbull. And if this does hit the ground, I feel like Patricky has the advantage there too. And yeah, I'm going with Pitbull on this one to get it done. And, you know, it's hard to say how, but it's like, man, when you got Pitbull and Quilley coming in here, you got to think someone's going to fall down and not stand back up in this one. So I guess we'll go with Pitbull by knockout. And moving on to the next one, we have Anthony Rumble Johnson coming up against Jose Augusto Azevedo at light heavyweight. So Rumble Johnson, man, we all know him. We all love him, or most of us probably do. You know, popular fighter in the UFC back when he was over there. But, you know, he hasn't fought in 4 years. And he's 37, so the people coming in here being like, oh yeah, he's going to get all over this guy, he's going to be easy, this and that. I don't know, man. We haven't seen him in 4 years and he's 37. It's just like that alone is enough for me to say I'm not going to touch this fight, and I probably won't. I don't know. I have no clue what he's going to look like out there, guys. You know, training at Sanford MMA, obviously that's a good camp. You feel like he's going to come in prepared, but it's just like we don't know. Historically, you know, he's relied on that really great power, that really great striking, pretty good wrestling. He's got a really big frame with a super long reach at 78 inches. You know, he's been doing some grappling competitions, like competing against like Ryan Bader and like some other guys in Chill's Submission Underground. And, you know, he's just a bit of a wild card right now. At 37 years old, after a 4-year layoff, I really don't know what to expect. Jose Augusto Azevedo coming in at 7-2. He looked really great, obviously, in his Bellator debut. I don't feel like competition there is on the same level as Rumble Johnson, but you know, still can't discount that performance whatsoever. He doesn't have near the amount of experience of Rumble, or has he faced the competition level that Rumble has faced, but I just don't think he can be counted out, you know, given the fact that he has not taken a 4-year break. He fought like 4 or 5 weeks ago. He's 8 years younger, and yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit up here and pick against Rumble Johnson here. But this is going to be a pass for me from a betting standpoint. I feel like Rumble should get the win, but like, it's been 4 years. She's 37. I know I've said that like 20 times, but it is what it is, man. I just can't get past that. I don't want any money on the line for this one, you know, at all. But I guess if I had to make a pick, I'll go with Rumble Johnson by knockout. And moving on to this main event, I'm really excited for this fight. I think it should be a great one. We have Juan Archuleta coming up against Sergio Pettis. So, Juan Archuleta is 25-2. He's got an excellent record. His last 5 fights, he's beaten Ricky Bandejas, he's beaten Eduardo Dantes, he's beaten Henry Corrales, and he's beaten Patchy Mix most recently. His one loss on those last 5 fights has been to Patricio Pitbull. So what can you say, guys? Went up to 145 to fight Patricio, and Patricio got the better of him. There's no shame in losing to Patricio, one of my favorite fighters. And, you know, but Archuleta, he's a true champion. He's got great cardio. He just has that champion aura when he's in that cage, you know. He's got great cardio. He's always calm. He's cerebral and calm in tough positions. He's a well-rounded guy. Whatever Pettis wants to do, Archuleta can do that with you, you know. If he wants to strike, he can do that. You want to grapple, he can do that. And Pettis is coming in 20-5, also a really good record. You know, he's an excellent striker. I feel like he's going to come out swinging. I feel like the last fight that Juan Archuleta had with Patchy Mix, where Patchy Mix came out strong for those first 2 rounds and looked really good. I feel like it's going to be similar to that, but with a striking emphasis instead of the grappling emphasis that Patchy Mix came out with. But at the end of the day, I just feel like Juan can outlast him. You know, he's been in so many tough situations and toughed it out. Some of Pettis' UFC wins, you know, have aged pretty well. You know, Brandon Moreno, Joe Benavidez, those are good wins. And, you know, Pettis, you know, he's fought guys like Henry Cejudo. He's been in there with really tough guys. So I don't want to take anything away from him whatsoever. I just don't believe that he has the same all-around game that Juan has. And if I'm making a pick here, I'm going with Juan Archuleta, probably by decision. You know, maybe he could find a finish, but I feel like this is going to go the distance. I think Pettis is going to come out really strong, be very competitive through the first 2 rounds. But I think that at the end of the day, Archuleta is just a better mixed martial artist here. I think that's going to shine through in the later rounds. I think he's just prepared for everything and anything, and I feel like that is going to be the key to his victory, guys. So that's going to be my pick in this one, Juan Archuleta. So given just one final rundown down the card, I'm going with Juan Archuleta. I'm going with Rumble Johnson. I'm going with Patricky Pitbull. I'm going with MVP Michael Page. I'm going with Rafael Stotts. Going with Johnny Evelyn. I'm going with Weber Almeida, Henry Corrales, Eric Perez, Logan Storley, Patchy Mix, and Lorenz Larkin. So that's my full card breakdown and prediction for Bellator 258. I think I'm going to do another video later this week about maybe like best bets for every fight, breaking down like what action I think is kind of like your best bet for like a single play on any of these fights. So yeah, anyways guys, follow me on Twitter at LuckyLocksPicks. Thanks for watching the video. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one.